made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession. This episode is brought to you by Clothes for Chiro, Chiro Sushi, Barbara Eaton's 56-day chiropractic bootcamp, Moveville University, Pure Chiro Notes, Dr. Alok Trivedi, the Black Diamond Club, Element Mattresses, Legacy Wealth Management, Posture Screen, Vita Chiropractic, the Universal Traction System, MedZone, Vantage Point Marketing, and Imaging Services. Let's hustle.
Alright guys, welcome to episode 37 of Chiro Hustle. I'm your co-host Luke Millette. Here's your host, Jim Chester.
Hey, so today we had the pleasure of interviewing Carolyn Griffin, and she's a 22-year practitioner of chiropractic, and she has something out right now called This Cultured Life. And if you guys want to know more about how to heal the body from inside out through nutrition, stay tuned for this amazing episode. So Carolyn, what is your chiropractic story, and what influenced you to become a chiropractor?
My chiropractic story is that when I was 17 years old, my dad had a double hernia operation, and he enjoyed golfing just way too much that he went outside and he went golfing, and he took his first swing and he threw out his back. It hurt so bad that he could not bend over, pick up a pencil or anything. And so he ended up going to work, and he worked at Rockwell, which is the company that worked on the B-1 bomber. And so their parking lot was huge. And in order for him to get to his office, he would literally have to sit on the bumpers of cars to take a break in order to get to his office. So a coworker of his saw how much he was suffering and said, "Man, you need to go to a chiropractor." And his response was, "No way, they're quacks." And so he didn't go, and he suffered for like 3 weeks or so. And finally, when the pain wasn't going away with the traditional methods of what he would do, which was probably pain meds, etc., he went back to his coworker and said, "Okay, who's this chiropractor I need to see, because this is not going away." And so he ended up going to the doc, got history exam, x-ray, started getting adjusted, and he started to feel better immediately. And so here I am, 17, getting ready to graduate high school, and I'm like, what do you think I should be when I grow up? Because I was actually pretty clueless at the time. And he's like, "You need to be a chiropractor." So I opened up the phone book, which is, those big, thick, yellow, big book with yellow pages that we don't ever use anymore. And so I opened up the phone book, and I made a couple of phone calls, and I just said, "I'm thinking about becoming a chiropractor. Do you mind if I ask you a few questions?" And a couple of the responses were, "Instead, better yet, why don't you just come and follow me around for the day?" So I did. I went into these offices. I saw, people getting better through chiropractic care, neck pain going away, headaches that people had, back pain like my dad. And I just thought, you know what? I could do this. And so this past December was 22 years that I've been in practice, and I've been seeing some great miracles in my own office, and it's been an incredible ride for sure.
Wow, you said 22 years?
I know. I started when I was 12. No, I'm kidding. Prodigy. Don't know if you knew that. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't look a day over 22, so kudos to you.
Well, you're my new BFF. Thank you.
So let's talk a little bit about your uniqueness in the chiropractic world. What makes you unique? What are you doing to help more people?
For me, I feel being in tune to my patients has helped me a lot. And I don't know if, that's a woman thing, if it's a female thing, and having a bit of intuition to help guide me as well. I feel like that is part of the process. Being able to listen and not just bark at patients has been something that I've been able to find helps a lot in the practice. So there's something to be said about having that connection. And so with that said, I've been able to grow my practice to the point where this year I now have a second office, a satellite office, and that happened based on the fact that I was able to become successful in my own, and an opportunity presented itself, and to where I could take over a second office and groom this doctor to learn the systems that I utilize in my own practice. And we've been doing it. So this last year, I opened up a second office, which has been awesome.
So do you have any mantras or quotes that you recite to yourself on a daily basis, or Do you have any sayings that you like that help you with your momentum as a doctor?
Oh yeah, I think in order to have consistency and to be able to continue to grow, not only as a chiropractor, but as a person, I think you definitely need to have positive headspace, positive mindset. And so these two things I learned from Dr. Fred Schofield. I've been training with him for so long, and I started out with him actually when before I even graduated from chiropractic school. My first seminar with him, or my first training, was October of 1995. And so that was even 2 months before I graduated from chiropractic school. And I'm so thankful because I went to LACC, which is called something different now. And even when I was in school at that time, we could not even use the word subluxation. So I'm graduating from school thinking I know so much and I'm going to be a doctor. And I've got that, mindset of I'm a doctor, so I'm good to go, right? And unfortunately, that's not how it works. Coming out of school with the title of doctor doesn't give you the tools you need to become successful in practice. There's definitely a big disconnect, I find, between recent graduates and seasoned docs. There's definitely something that needs to be taught to these students coming out. There's a missing link for these students, and if you don't get it within the first 5 years, 0 to 5 years, then something's going to can go wrong, meaning you might be bartending for the rest of your life or having a second job to supplement your income just to survive, pay off loans, because as we know, that's super high, but also just to survive and or thrive in this business, which it's a business. And so my mantras that I got from Dr. Fred Schofield long ago was the simple one, which is keep on keeping on. And keep the big things big and the small things small. I think that's actually a B.J. Palmer. But the big one I love, and I actually made this and I put it in my son's room at one point in time, was Lord, bless our home and office with peace, prosperity, abundance, mental, physical, spiritual perfection, divine right action, and only good may enter in. And that all these years.
That's awesome. I think that I was just at the Cal Jam where you were as well, and I was sitting up in the audience with Tristan Schaub, and we were watching one of the speakers up there, and I asked him, who is the future, that one person that is the voice of chiropractic that, back in the day it was Sigafus or it was Reggie Gold, and he asked me who I thought it was, and I told him it was Fred Schofield.
100%.
And I think that what he's done for the profession and the people that he's helped make an impact on have just they are the leaders in this profession now.
I agree. And the thing that's different about Dr. Fred, and what most people may or may not know, if they've gone, they know, is that he's not just a chiropractic coach, he's a life coach. And he's definitely groomed me and molded me into not only the chiropractor I am today, but also helped me become a better mom and a better wife. And I think that's huge because he just has a way of, getting into your head and sweeping out the cobwebs and making sure that you move forward without hesitation. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I love Freddie. The guy has made an impact in my life too. He's the first person to teach me what above, down, inside out meant. And
nice.
He drove it home to me, and I was just a guy that was traveling around doing film work for the Palmer rugby team, and I had a chance to interview Fred, and when he unleashed, and we talked for an hour on film, and it was just one of the most amazing experiences of my life, and I'm like, wow, this guy is somebody that's very special.
Yep, agreed. He is pretty amazing.
Well, I'm going to switch gears a little bit off of the topics that we're talking about, and I just want to get a little bit more real with you. Has chiropractic always been easy for you?
That's a great question. I've never been asked that before. Has it always been easy? So coming out of school, I've obviously didn't know anything. I thought I could adjust, turned out I couldn't. And I was blessed enough to become a preceptor and then an associate in an office that not only saw high volume, but trained with Dr. Fred Schofield. So thankfully, when I was in this office for three and a half years working as an associate, I was able to get my hands on a lot of patients. And because they saw a lot of patient visits and new patients, we processed anywhere from 100 to 150 new patients a month, as well as seeing, hundreds of new patients a week. And so I was able to groom myself as far as just myself, but I was able to get groomed in a way that I was able to get my hands on a lot of people in a short amount of time. So I was able to learn how to adjust and take care of certain conditions, but also how the flow of an office was supposed to be, how, your headspace has to be in the right place to be able to do that kind of volume. And, and also being trained by Dr. Fred and going to his trainings and seminars was huge. So for me, right out of the gate, I was exposed to a lot of greatness. And so I never had that headspace of I'm ever going to fail. Like, it just never even entered my mind. So when I, stopped becoming an associate and opened my own practice, my initial thought was, well, hell, okay, in a month I'll go ahead and see 100 new patient visits a week, and I'm going to be this and I'm going to be that. And I just had this intention that I was going to make it, and this is just how it goes. Write it down, do it. Like, it wasn't, I hope I'm going to make it. Like, I hope I don't fail. That just wasn't there at all. And so I started out, and I by month 3 I was paying my own rent, and I was just growing. But I did it in a way where I didn't take out a huge loan. This was what I wanted to do, was get a big, huge loan, build out this beautiful $100,000 office, and blah, blah, blah. All these, this dream of what I thought the perfect practice should look like. But reality was I just didn't have the funds. I was an associate, starting my own practice, just bought our new home. All these things were right there, so that wasn't an option. So we found this opportunity where I took over the space where this doctor moved, just continued paying rent. It had an old x-ray machine, and it was a dinosaur but worked, an old sign. It looked ugly, but it said chiropractor, and all of this. So I just kind of grew from there and took my learnings from Dr. Fred and did what I did. But my headspace was on right from the very beginning. Like, I didn't have the headspace of I'm going to fail, it's going to be hard. But yes, I still needed to train. I hit a certain goal, but then I couldn't break through that next level. And that's when I went from going to Dr. Fred with my doctor that I worked for, to having to take a break because I couldn't afford it because I didn't have any extra income. And then I got to the point where I couldn't afford not to go. So then I started going on my own to Dr. Fred, and that's when literally the week before, I couldn't break through 100 ever. Like, it took me a while. And then I was like, okay, it's clearly headspace, something's wrong. And so I said, I'm going to sign it with Dr. Fred. I called Susan, signed up, and literally the week before I was supposed to go for that weekend, I broke through, and I was like, yep, it's the right decision. Glad I'm going. So that's where it grew. And then, of course, from there, it just continued. And I think my son at that point in time was like 9 months old, and I brought him with me, and it was just this whole thing. So, but yeah, I trained with him for a long time. I think it was 13 years straight. And it's been great. So he's been a very influential person in my growth. So has it been hard? Points of it are. It's not easy peasy all the time, but learning and knowing how to handle the challenges that do come up is key.
But, I saw you speak last year at the Chiro Sushi Summit, the inaugural one of that, and I saw a different story. I saw a story from you that you weren't taking care of yourself, and I saw a story of you being vulnerable and real. And I saw a story of how you've transformed those stages of your career into who you are today. Would you mind telling us a little bit about that?
Sure. What I ended up doing was focused on, my family, because I had young ones when I first started. Obviously, I was married. I had young children. I was focused on growing my practice and raising my children and having a happy marriage. And that went on for years and years. It still goes on, but that was like the only thing I focused on. And I got to a point where for most women, this is like the magic number for some reason. It was always the magic number for me, was when I turned 40. Now for me, I was actually looking forward to my 40s because I was always the youngest everywhere I went. I was very young when I graduated chiropractic school. I was like the youngest in my class, if not the very youngest. And so everywhere I went, I was surrounded by people that were older, more mature, had more experience, and I was kind of like the baby or something. And I just wanted to get to a point, I'm like, when I get 40, that's when I'll arrive. I'll arrive when I turn 40. Maybe I won't be the baby anymore. And so for me, I was always looking forward to it. Well, when I actually turned 40, I was like, oh crap. I looked in the mirror and it was not what I expected. You get to a certain point when you see yourself differently, and I looked in the mirror and it was not what I wanted. And so I knew at that moment, if I was going to continue to be happy inside, that I needed to make a change for myself. And even though I thought I was in shape and healthy and all that good stuff, and I probably was, but there's a certain thing that happens. Women like to look good in their own clothes. We want to look good naked. We want to just feel good in our own skin. And, and for me, that was something that was important at that point in my life. And so I ended up going to the gym and started to work out, and I got to the point where that was one of my other passions. My children were much older. They didn't need me, feeding them, they could take care of themselves a lot more. So it freed up some of my time along with other things. And so I ended up doing bikini competitions. I can't do anything half-assed. I'm like, if I'm going to work out, I'm going to work out. And then I got to the point where I started competing, and I did like 5 bikini competitions. I placed in almost all of my, I think, except for one. And so I took my health to a new level, my fitness to a new level, and that opened another whole set of doors for me. And what that did was it introduced another way of eating and how that can affect one's life. And so I took my, my learnings from my early learnings of what I thought was healthy and nutrition with my recent experiences with bikini competitions, and then I created what I call my cultured life. And that is like the next thing, that's kind of the next door that has opened in my life and in my world. And so that's my passion today and right now, along with, of course, my practice and my 2 practices, keeping that going and doing what we're doing, serving my community. But then this came into my life, and this is what I'm pursuing right now, which has been really, really a fun journey.
Wow. I think that there's going to be so many people out there when they listen to this episode, they're going to be able to learn more about themselves by what you've shared. And I think that that's one of the greatest things about a podcast and the interview process that we do is we get a platform to people to say, you know what, even though that you might not be where you want to be, if you just work hard on yourself and you work hard in your career, you can be anywhere you want to go.
And I believe that, people just need to speak into existence what they really want to have in their life. And again, that goes back to positive headspace and mindset and knowing that you can have whatever you want as long as you truly desire it and you don't have that monkey on your shoulder saying otherwise.
So what would you be able to accomplish if more people knew about your cause and everything that you're doing?
What would I be able to accomplish if more people knew about my cause?
Yeah,
what I'm trying to do.
So the healthy eating paradigm that you believe in and the fermented foods, what would that do for people in general?
Yeah, so what I'm doing with my cultured life, it started really with just me loving to learn how to ferment foods and what does that mean and what is fermentation. And it's just an old way of preserving food. I mean, it's actually been around for thousands of years, but it's just kind of coming back now into the forefront of some people's minds. And so I just enjoyed doing it. Like, it was like, okay, how do I make this? And how do I make that? I was just enjoying making it for my family. I make kefir and kombucha and fermented vegetables and all kinds of cool stuff in my kitchen. So it's like, what's brewing today? And what I realized, because I always want to take things to the next level, it's like I wasn't just happy making it for myself, but now I wanted to share this with the world. Like, how can I bring this to the masses? And what I'm wanting to do and what is going to be happening is I'm putting together an amazing website, which is in work right now, so it's not up and running yet. But I'm going to have a platform where I'm going to be able to have online courses for folks that are interested in doing the same thing, which as I'm posting the things I'm doing, I'm realizing more and more people really want to have access to doing it. And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to have some online courses on the how-to, but I'm also going to be helping folks with really real gut issues. So, for example, people that have lactose intolerance, people that have ulcerative colitis and Crohn's disease, that have irritable bowel, that have candida, all of these things which are making people literally sick, and they may not even realize why. I'm going to show them how they can help heal themselves and heal their gut issues with fermented foods and foods and beverages. So that's the next phase of my journey.
That's super cool. I think we can all benefit from what you're doing. I know almost zero to nothing about fermented food other than I like drinking kombucha, and every once in a while I eat pickles.
Yeah, and you're not alone in that. I mean, a lot of people are like, yeah, what are you doing? What is that? And, what I love in the tagline, it was funny, I get a facial every month. I go into my lady who I see, and I've known her for a long time. And, when I started doing it, and I'm kind of explaining what I'm doing, she goes, oh, yeah. I do pickles all the time, too. I make pickles. And I said, well, what's your process? And so I'm just wanting to kind of gain some knowledge. And she's like, well, I vinegar, and then you stick it in the boiling water. And I'm like, oh, so you're canning. She goes, yeah. And I'm like, okay, well, ours is cultured, not canned. And that turned out to be my tagline. And so when it's cultured and not canned, what that means is that you're not heating it up and losing all the probiotics and live enzymes. So it's actually a real healing food if you eat pickles that isn't canned or been sitting on the shelf for like 2 years, so Vlasic or whatever the name brands are. That's great to eat a pickle, but not if it's been cooked, because then you kind of lose all the benefits of the probiotic. So what is super cool is, everyone knows that buzzword probiotic, and that's like the new thing that people have been talking about, and people have been talking about it a lot right now. But the new buzzword is going to be fermentation, and that's what more and more people are going to be talking about. But to take it one step further, the next buzzword is going to be prebiotic, and that's the other part of my journey, part B of this journey, which I'm going to be bringing more to folks and exposing the public of what the benefits of using a prebiotic as well as fermented food. So it's this big thing that I'm excited to just dive into, and can't wait to share it with everyone.
So I guess this question's a little bit off script again, but how do you see retooling somebody that has a typical American lifestyle with eating? Like they eat pizza, they eat bratwurst, they eat, whatever they want, like whenever it's time to eat. Like,
sure.
How do you get somebody to flip their mental switch to say, okay, I have to change the way I look at food?
Yeah. So what I do is I first have somebody fill out like a food diary. I'm curious, what exactly are they eating? And so whatever passes through their lips, whatever goes into their body, be it food or beverage, whatever, soda, pizza, ice cream, I don't care, whatever it is, write it down. And then I get an idea of what that diet actually looks like. And I know that when I was doing, Revivify, when it was, for me at that point in time, a couple of years ago, it was to help women go from mom jeans to bikinis, right? That was kind of like what I was talking to women about at one point in time before it evolved into my cultured life. But what I found out from that is there are a lot of people at different stages. In my audience that I had at that particular event, my first one, I had women that had done competitions. I had women that didn't compete, but maybe they've gone to the gym once or twice. I had housewives that never went to the gym at all. So there's all different walks of life sitting in front of me. How am I going to get those folks to all come in at that level? Well, what I found out very quickly is it's very difficult. So what I created was what I call levels of health test. And what that means is you would fill out a questionnaire, and I'll find out exactly where you are, if you're at level 1, 2, 3, or 4. And then from there, I start them slowly. So for example, your example, which is I eat pizza, drink soda, and it's not only just soda, but it's a Diet Coke. If they're that type of person that is not mindful of anything going into their body, it's going to be very difficult for me to say, okay, now you're going to eat organic, you're going to exercise, at least 30 minutes, 5 days a week, you're going to do X, Y, and Z. It's not going to happen, okay? That's just a reality. It's not going to happen unless, there might be that 1 or 2 folks where they've had a life-changing experience to where, they said it's life or death change now or forget it. Those folks change, but folks don't. So what I like to do is instead of, and I think I learned this from Dave Chestnut, is what you do for folks like that is you don't take out anything anything from their diet, you just add in one thing. And so what I would recommend for someone like that is let's just start slow. And why don't you just start with like a green lemonade? And that's all I want you to do every single day. Find a way to get it into your system. Eat your pizza, do your stuff, but every day you're going to do one healthy thing. And then we would grow from there.
You've made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession. This episode is brought to you by Close for Chiro, Chiro Sushi, Barbara Eaton's 56-day chiropractic bootcamp, Moveville University, Pure Chiro Notes, Dr. Alok Trivedi, the Black Diamond Club, Element Mattresses, Legacy Wealth Management, Posture Screen, Vita Chiropractic, the Universal Traction System, MedZone, Vantage Point Marketing, and Imaging Services. Let's hustle.
Yeah, that's really cool. I want one of your things. I want your survey. I want to try it out because I'm actually on my own fitness journey right now. People that know me have known me my entire life, and I'm definitely not at the pinnacle of my fitness level right now. I'm actually, not looking. I actually, when you showed your slides when you were out at Chiro Sushi, I resonate with the old you, and I think that there's growth for all of us. And there's the ability of when we build relationships with people for just a simple conversation like we're doing right now to unlock, the secrets to our future.
Uh-huh. And you know what? Yeah, everyone's at their own level, and meet them where they're at and then show them where they can go. Absolutely.
Yeah, so I think what you're doing is really brilliant. I think, helping people through the nutrition is something that, some people might even scoff at you saying, hey, Carolyn, what you're doing isn't chiropractic. But I think that people don't realize that when you're a caregiver and you're a healer, chiropractic, just as long as you're on the path of getting people better, that's a huge component.
Yeah, and to speak into that, if you don't mind.
No, please.
It's, for me, chiropractic is a lifestyle. It's and people do balk at that, I guess I would be considered a mixer, but here's what people don't realize is I actually don't talk a lot of nutrition in my practice. I don't have time to do that. And I realize there's a lot of docs that either they don't have time to talk about it themselves because they're probably pretty busy, and or they don't have enough of the knowledge to speak comfortably on the topic, or maybe that's just their straights and that's all they do is adjust and Nate will take care of the rest. So there's typically three things of why nutrition is not talked about in the practice. So, but for me, what I do is I go out into my community. So one of the things that I love to do is do in my community outreach. I've been out in practice, like I said, 22 years. One of the ways I love to give back is to speak in my community, and I'll go and I'll give a nutrition talk. I bring people into my own practice and I'll give workshops. It's just something I love to share. And it helps me too. It helps me feed that knowledge. It's like, okay, let's just keep this fresh and going. And then I get ideas when people are in my audience, I'll hear their questions. I'm like, you know what? That's like the third time I've heard that. We need to really add that to my presentation. and that's something that people are questioning. And so I'll create more stuff and more content just based on the questions. So for me, it's a little bit of research and a lot of education. I love to educate, but I'm actually getting some research done at the same time when I get the questions asked. It's pretty cool.
That is awesome.
So tell us, where do you personally see the chiropractic profession in 20 years?
Where do I see it? I'm actually hopeful, and I don't like doom and gloom, and I know that there are a lot of folks that have some negative things to say about our profession. And the thing is, for me, I'm very hopeful. I feel like we've seen a lot of shit in the last 120 years, 23 years, whatever it is now, and we've seen a lot. We've seen chiropractors go to jail for the cause. We've seen a lot of things go wrong, terrible things go wrong. But we've always come out of it. There's always been, there's a core of docs that always seem to be able to hold it together for the rest of us, right? And I just feel like there's still those doctors that want the best for the profession, keeping drugs out of it, speaking the truth, talking about innate, taking care of as many people as possible. And I'm telling you right now, my son's going to be a chiropractor, at least as I speak today, he still wants to be. I took him to Cal Gym and things are, he's on the path, so I am hopeful that people like my son who are going into school and going to be graduating, he's going to continue to carry that torch for what chiropractic is and keeping away what it shouldn't be. And so I'm hopeful that in 20 years, it's going to be only stronger. We're going to weed out the weak and we're going to keep this strong and we're going to keep this profession moving forward.
Yeah, that's it's really cool. It's an inspiration, and I do follow you and your son's life on social media, so it's really cool to see how he's progressing and how wonderful of a kid he is. Just I've never met him, but I can see how athletic he is and how committed he is to being a good person. So I think you've done a really good job with him.
Thank you. That means a lot to me. I appreciate that.
And me not, really having much interaction with you or with him, but to see you guys from a distance, I have a lot of respect for how you are as a mom.
I appreciate that. That means a lot as a mom. Because, we always want to do our best and no one's perfect. We all make mistakes and we say things that we shouldn't say and we do things that we shouldn't do. And it's like, But, in the end, kids are resilient, and as long as you love them up and you guide them as best as we possibly can and our intentions are good, they turn out to be pretty good kids. And I can only be thankful for that. That's for sure.
Yeah, and that's it's something that is, I think, gone by the wayside of parenting is, accepting kids for who they are and not trying to push them down a path that isn't, what they want. And I think it's really cool.
Yeah,
I think it's really cool that he wants to be a chiropractor.
And I'm pretty excited about it. When he first told me, he's like, yeah, I want to be a chiropractor. I didn't say anything for like a year. I just kind of let it sit. And because I didn't want him to say, oh my God, yeah, that's great. And you're going to do this, you're going to do that. And put all of that pressure on him, because if he decided later, maybe I changed my mind, I don't want to do that actually. I didn't want him to feel obligated to follow through to make mom happy. So he told me he wanted to be a chiropractor. I was super excited on the inside, but I just kind of let it sit. I said, okay, that's cool. And I just that was it. But I was adjusting my daughter, his sister, at home. And when he said, hey, Mom, show me what you're doing there. As soon as he said that, I'm like, all right, it's on. and that's when I was like, that's when I started talking to him more about it, because I knew that was a year later. And I was like, all right, he's more serious. He's still talking about it. It wasn't a flash in the pan or, it's something more serious. And, he did his senior project, some project he had in class last semester on chiropractic as his future, as what he's going to do for a living. And so it's just been cool watching him, and hey, if he changes his mind again, he changes his mind again, and I'm not going to hold it against him. But right now he's on the path, which is pretty awesome.
So how long off is he before he gets into a school?
So what we're going to do, what we decided is he's going to go to the JC for the first 2 years. He's going to then transfer to CSUN for the following 2. And then he's going to then have a choice of Life West, Life U, or Sherman. And we're going to have him go visit the schools, and I'll let him make the final decision of where he wants to go, because he's going to have to love it and want to be in that environment. So whatever environment he's most comfortable in. So we're going to figure it out.
That's really cool. Well, let's switch gears a little bit with the tone of the conversation, and let's go into the marketing ideas that you might have and the things that you're doing. What are some of the key marketing strategies that you do for your practice?
For me, I do a lot of workshops. I do a lot of in-house and external marketing. So for a lot of my internal marketing, I do workshops in office, and I also do my Women, Wine, and Wellness event that I love. I do it once a year, and it gives great exposure and draws a lot of women to the practice, which are the decision makers for healthcare, especially within a family setting. And so I do that. I do Facebook ads and community outreach talks. What I do outside of the office, we still do old school spinal screenings, which I think is still valid. I know a lot of people talk down upon screenings, but there's something to be said about getting out in your community, rolling up your sleeves, and talking face to face with the people in your neighborhood. People need to see who you are. They kind of need to feel you, touch you, and you to have that face to face conversation. So you're not just and then follow, and maybe they've seen you on Facebook or your ad, and then they get to meet you. That might be the reason they actually come into the office, So there's something to be said about that.
Oh, I love it. I did over 600 screen events in 2.5 years for offices. And
oh, really?
Yeah, that's I scheduled over 2,500 people in 2.5 years for the first chiropractic visit.
That's fantastic. Great job. So you're a master.
I tell people there's only one person better on planet Earth than me doing spinal screenings, and that's Dave Major.
I met him, yes.
So what you're saying, I think is really important, because some of my clients, they do a really good job with social media, with especially Instagram marketing and
Sure.
especially Facebook. And I can't tell you how many times somebody's come up to me at the farmer's market or the street fair, and they're like, wow, you guys do such a good job of Instagram marketing, and I would have called you guys, but since I see you here, I'm going to schedule in with you because of your presence on social media.
Exactly. So sometimes it's like they need to see you once, they see you twice, they see you 3 times, and then if they come to one of the, dinner with the doc, if they go to, see you at a screening, if they see. So I think there's something to be said. And here's another thing that I think works really great are live videos. And I'm horrible at doing them on my own private wall, and I'm not comfortable doing them at all, to be perfectly transparent and honest. Like, it's not my forte, but I do what I got to do, even if it's uncomfortable. You just do it. And so I did a live video testimonial with one of my patients. And so even though the community doesn't necessarily meet me in person, because they're seeing me and hearing me, and with seeing the testimonial from my patient, that's pretty close, right? And that gives you just that extra advantage. So if you don't have, 600 screenings to do, in your community, if they don't have that many events, you do Facebook live videos and then boost them, and they see that story, that testimonial. So they're getting a testimonial as well as seeing you in the flesh. It gives you a little bit of celebrity status, because it's kind of like, hey, I saw you on my newsfeed. You're in their personal space. They're more apt to buy, so to speak.
Yeah, I love it. You're basically doing the genius work behind getting into your community and speaking from a one-to-one perspective, but also speaking from a one-to-many perspective. And I think that's the business mindset of marketing that the chiropractor has to learn over time. So I think that what you're doing is highly valuable, not only to you, and getting out of your own way, of your comfort zone, is something that so many people don't know how to accomplish. So kudos to you again for figuring out that doing the things that we don't like are sometimes the things that give us the most coverage in the media, and give us the most coverage for being who somebody might need to see.
Right. And, I'm a big fan of diversity. I don't think you should put all your eggs in one basket. I don't suggest to new docs coming out to just only do Facebook ads, even though that's like the big thing right now. It is a big thing, but it's not the only thing. So I think if you can diversify not only your marketing, but also your practice itself, for me, I think it's really important to do that. I think that's what's kept. One of the things, again, just going back to Dr. Fred, he says, in times of economic uncertainty, like when there's a recession or depression or whatever the stuff's going on in our communities, it's scary for a lot of folks. When that real estate bubble blew up and then everyone was losing their homes and all of that stuff, my practice actually still grew. I didn't dive. I didn't take a hit at all. I was growing every year, even through all of that. And one of the biggest things, the reasons why, is because I took care of families. And I think when you're able to take care of families and you have a fair price and you make it affordable and you come from a place of giving and caring, people see through that and they want to come and they will stick with you. And so that's definitely something that's kept me in this game of chiropractic for as long as I've been doing it.
So what are some of your favorite apps or piece of technology to keep you engaged with your audience?
An app or technology? Well, Facebook, I would assume, would be the biggest one. I love that, and I love posting things personally and some things about the office. So I'm on both, business pages as well as personal pages. I do Instagram a lot. I post a ton of pictures about my cultured life on on my Instagram account, which is then shared. Obviously, you can immediately post it to Facebook at the same time. So I'm putting all kinds of things on there as far as what I'm doing in my kitchen and what I'm brewing next and fermenting next. I guess that's about it. I don't really do much else. What else is out there? Maybe you can share some nuggets with me at this point.
Yeah, so my best advice to you after listening to how passionate you are about this cultured life is to start your own podcast and talk to people that are in the industry and build associations with people that are into that niche, that will share their stories of what they're doing to help educate the audience more on that niche market that you're interested in. I think that's what I recommend to anybody that's interested in getting more exposure and doing better marketing and building that celebrity status within that niche. Like, we do that for the chiropractic world, is now we talk to people about things that are interesting to a niche market. And I think that's probably the next step I would recommend to you is getting into the podcast world and becoming dynamic, even though I will tell you it is a ton of work. But it's a good way for you to get your message out to the people that might not get it otherwise.
Gotcha. Thank you. That's a great tip. Thank you.
Yeah. And, I am more of like an auditor when I listen to what people say to make sure the interview goes the way it's supposed to. But I'm also listening very intently for what I could do to give advice to other people all the time. And,
right.
I'm always reading people's expressions. I'm watching their behaviors. I'm watching how they interact with their tribe. I mean, I study like people as a psychologist, number one, as a journalist, number two, and then as a storyteller, number three. So I think that doing podcasts for me gives me a lot of flexibility on how I see a person's potential and how I view what they share and how we can definitely get the best story out of them. So I think what you're doing is it's awesome, and I love watching it. And now that you say watch you more on Instagram, I'm going to do that. I'm going to see what you're doing and how you're helping people with your information, because I do think I have more interest in this topic than I did before I started talking to you.
Nice. And I think educating ourselves and learning more of whatever we can learn, and I love just always taking everything to the next level. And so, what you're going to see on there is going to be some cool stuff. If you do follow me on Instagram, I became certified as a fermentationist because I wanted to really know what I'm talking about. And so I did that. It's just been a great, great journey over the last year and a half or 2 years that I've been doing all of this. And, and I appreciate the idea of the podcast. I do want to get this message out to as many folks as possible. I think it's important. I think there are too many people are sick between chiropractic and fermented foods and all of this other cool stuff. Can really help to heal a lot of people that are sick and don't even know where to turn. And so, I appreciate this opportunity.
So, in your downtime, what do you like to listen to and what do you like to read? Like, what do you feed your brain?
So I'm constantly inundated because I'm putting with the fermentation, being certified and wanting to learn more and more and more. I'm constantly reading a bunch of articles and news stories and listening to certain podcasts as well. But honestly, that's so much. If you're talking downtime, I literally just like to shut it all off, and I try not to look at too much. And lately, I've just been enjoying, quality time with my family, just playing games. I mean, that's something that we've recently done over the last few months, since like Christmas, or 2 months, I guess it's been. Just kind of like getting back to the basics. I don't watch television. I don't like it. I think it eats up too much time. It's too much negativity. All the stuff that was going on in the news, I'm hearing it from patients and over Facebook. I'm like, what's going on? So I don't watch the news. So for me, I actually enjoy like love stories. And I'll read like a novel that is like, has absolutely nothing to do with anything that feeds my brain, except just kind of feeds the soul and just lets me, get back to doing nothingness, so to speak, because it can be too much,
Absolutely. I think it's important to turn off work and just kind of do your own thing, whatever makes you happy.
Yeah. And, I'll go to the gym, I'll read books that are not exact. They're literally trashy novels, so which is fun. And but I think because of access today, podcasts, audiobooks, blah blah blah, and I do listen to that stuff. I'm not saying I don't, but because there's so much of it and there's so much easy access, we're like getting so many messages all the time that I think there's something to be said about turning it off to actually disconnect in order to be more connected. And that's kind of what I'm talking about. So I try not to overdo it.
Yeah, and I love that. I love the idea that you shared with us about just being yourself sometimes. And I think that when people, show themselves in like the media light, that they typically only want to say what they think people want to hear. So I think that it's cool that you have your life with playing games with your family and your life reading the books that you enjoy, because I think that that's the part too. And I think also, Carolyn, is when we do the Chiro Hustle podcast, we get a chance to share people's life experiences, and we do want to be the leader and the voice for the chiropractic message with Chiro Hustle. So I think that what we're doing is we're bringing on high-profile people to tell their stories. Not only that, we're talking to the leaders in the profession, but now we're doing episodes of talking to chiropractic students, and eventually, doing, the whole process with speaking to the woman's voice in chiropractic. It's only going to make our mission more popular. And over time, we're also going to be doing live interviews with spouses of chiropractors. So we're going to talk more about the chiropractic lifestyle and the chiropractic house and what's going on in the chiropractic family. And I think,
well, I would be happy to contribute there as well.
Yeah, once we get to that next stage of bringing on repeat guests, I think you'd be an ideal candidate for us to talk to about that type of life. And maybe you could do a co-cast with your husband, and we could talk to both of you about the chiropractic family.
Nice. I would love to do that. That'd be fun.
Well, we're coming up on the edge of our program with you. Is there anything that we didn't ask you that you would like to share with our audience today?
I feel like we covered it. We talked about chiropractic practice, my cultured life, and we had great conversation, and I think we're good.
Well, before we all jump off the horn, we always let our guests share any websites or social media plugs so our audiences can find you easier.
Okay. So I'm going to share my website that's not up yet, because probably by the time this does go on, it will be. I want that to be there. It's www.myculturedlife.com. And also, they can also reach me at www.scv, as in Victor, Chiro.com, scvchiro.com. That's my office website that they can also reach me through, or they can even reach me through Facebook, send me a message. I'm totally open. I've had yesterday contact me. They want help with their day 1, day 2, so I'm happy to help struggling doctors. I still talk with a few one-on-one just to help them through their chiropractic journey, because if I've got something to share, I don't like to see anyone struggle. I'm happy to do it. So that's how they can reach me.
Well, awesome, Carolyn. Thank you for being our guest today on the Chiro Hustle podcast, and I look forward to building a greater future with you as we both go down this path together.
Right on, and great to meet you as well, Luke, and I look forward to talking with both of you again soon.
Absolutely. Thanks again for being our guest today. It was an honor.
Thank you.
All right, we'll see you, Carolyn.
Thanks for listening to Chiro Hustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.